Stand by. Don't know how that came up. Sorry about that. Okay, so here we have a classic one. It's going to restart here for a second. Quick, hey babe, heading to the gym. What are you gonna do? You're so big already. How big do you plan on getting? Chris Bumstead big. So we all have been to the gym. We all know that everyone wants to get bigger for the most part when you're starting off. You want to at least gain some muscle mass. The main thing I wanted to talk about though with this one is like, how have you dealt with your body dysmorphia? Because I'm coming into this relatively fresh, and I am past where I wanted to be when I first started lifting. But at this point, I don't really see an end in sight in terms of where I'm trying to get to. How are you dealing
Yeah, I think
with
that's
body dysmorphia? Is it still an everyday struggle for you?
everyday struggle for every athlete in two folds. One, trying to accomplish something um, to better yourself, and then knowing that at some point in your life you're going to peak and you're going to go backwards. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger is not what Arnold Schwarzenegger was in the 70s. And you can say the same thing about every Olympian that's ever competed. You can say the same thing about Michael Jordan. It's one of those things where you're always chasing better, but what that better is, it's not really defined. And so uh, I think the key is short term goals that get you to some sort of long term sustainable vision. And even when you get to some place far beyond you ever wanted, you're still gonna be going for more, obviously.
Hmm.
And then I think one of the most like healthy things to realize is that like Chris Bumstead is the greatest in the world for a reason. And I'm about that tough love. And so when I
Top
when I
of the
tell you
top of
you're
the
not going to
goddamn
be
top.
pro or you're not going to be the greatest in the world and you're not going to get those medals and trophies, it's not because I don't
Yeah.
believe in your greatness. It's because you should have realistic expectations. And I'm more than willing to accept I'm wrong when someone proves me right. So I think the body dysmorphia uh, translates more to the unhealthiness of seeing someone like Chris Bumstead, and instead of appreciating what he is, we wonder why we're not. And I think if we can just appreciate people for what they are great at, and then hone in on what it is that makes us great as individuals, we'll probably live a lot healthier lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah, you touched on something interesting there that I've been noticing a lot recently in the fitness community, and it's the concept of pretty much every clothing brand that has to do with athletics in any way, Gymshark, Alphalete, Young LA, all these guys. The models that they are using are all like,
Mm-hmm.
some of them are like show lean year round, like they are sub 8% body fat year round, to the point where some people are saying that it's skewing people's perspective. Like, you may go to the gym and you may think you're in the top percentile at your local gym, and other people in your gym might look at you and say like, "Oh, I'm trying to look like that guy." And then you go home and you hop on Instagram, and every single person you see with their shirt off has a 28 pack, and they're somehow squatting 600 pounds and they're claiming natural. Like, what do you think it's doing to young people specifically when they log on Instagram or social media? They see this stuff. Do you think it
I
should
think
affect them, or do you think they should
for
just be
the
able to
most
tune
part,
it out?
we compartmentalize, and that mm, these people are somehow different than us. But those people who have those great physiques and those amazing gifts, they struggle with other things just like everybody else does, and so everything that we do in excess
Hmm.
is going to be unhealthy. And so when you're wondering like, is it unhealthy that we're watching this? Well, I mean, it's unhealthy that we drink, and it's unhealthy that we overeat, and it's unhealthy that we do anything to the extreme. And a lot of
Right.
this is just, I think, for young people, is finding out who you are as you're growing up, and as you get older into your 30s and 40s, those things change anyway. So I think there's some of it is a natural kind of uh, trying to figure out who it is you are as a person, and that's okay. Like that's normal. That's how life is in your teens
Hmm.
and your 20s. Like you're trying to figure out where you're going, but you're not there. And so when you look at people who were online and posting stuff on social media, or you look at celebrities or anyone like that. If you were getting paid $100,000 to have a six pack, you'd have a six pack. So one thing that people don't realize, their entire
Right.
world and
Yeah, I
life
would have a six pack.
revolves around what they look like, for good and for bad. Hopefully, they're inspiring a lot of
Yeah.
people. Hopefully, they can be an example for a lot of people. But when
Hmm.
it comes down to it, I think most people realize that that's not like a normal thing, and so it's having something to aspire
Right.
to is the overall point. And as you get older, and the more you see it, the more you get kind of the more you
Hmm.
understand what's obtainable and what's not obtainable. So what you, I think, are trying to determine is, what is it? How far could you take what you're doing right now in life, and where could you go with it? You don't
Yeah.
know, and you're not going to, and that's okay. Like,
Hmm.
you're not gonna know.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another interesting thing. It's like who are you as a person? Like realistically, like, how much do you care about if it's not within your genetics to be, super lean year round and have a six pack? Like how far are you willing to go? And it's funny, I've noticed that there's such a mix on social media of people that, if they're saying, in your mid to early 20s, they're like, this is your time to grind. You can put yourself so far ahead. Like, take protein shakes to parties, take meal prep to dinners. Like, this is the kind of stuff that will set you apart. And then there's a other side that's completely the opposite, saying that, being young in your 20s is all about living life and going out and drinking and eating and stuff that's bad for you because you're young and your metabolism is good. And I would say I'm honestly somewhere in the middle. Like I will admit, I do drink, probably, 1 to 2 times a month. I, go out to eat sometimes, and I know I eat foods I shouldn't have, but I also, try to follow that 80/20. Did you ever have a time, or could you pinpoint a time when you subconsciously made a switch that you were like, okay, I'm going to step away from the party scene. Like it's not for me anymore. Like this is like
Yeah,
my
I think I
final,
I have like an
farewell.
anti-addictive personality. When it comes to like anything, I just,
Mm,
all like, when I was younger, I'd go out to the club and every weekend, and then I'd forget one weekend, and then I just stop.
mm,
Um, I think
mm,
everybody, no matter what you're doing in your 20s, especially your early 20s, whether it be partying or fitness, or cars or girls, you're gonna get burnt out
mm,
on it, no matter what. Like, so whatever it is that
yeah,
you're doing, hopefully you're doing it in like a healthy way. But you're not gonna be that guy at 21 that you're gonna be at 25 and at 30 and have those same interests. So those are just phases of
right,
figuring out who you are. I think it all translates back to what we were talking about, of trying to identify and figure out who you are as a person. And once you identify and figure who you are as a
yeah,
person through this grind of a decade in your 20s, you get to your 30s and you kind of start all over again. You're like, oh, okay, well,
mm,
shit, who am I now? How am I going to be not just living for myself, but a productive member of society, have a good career, have a family, be happy?
right,
And so it's just, things change, and you just, maybe we're just not taught enough that, like, whatever's happening right now is not going to be your forever. And when it comes down to it,
mm,
your family, your fitness, your finances, and your health are all
mm,
just a part,
the
yeah,
three
just
F's
a
and one
part
H.
of living a well balanced, healthy life. And when one is out of whack,
Mm,
they all start going out of whack, and you start learning over time,
I agree
um,
with that.
that you kind of have to balance those. So you can't just 100%. There's a reason why elite athletes, kind of in their 30s, not only like physically start breaking down, but like, there's a lot of relationship issues, and that's when
Mm,
they start saying, you start hearing family. Oh, I want to be closer to my family. All this, and they
mm,
realize that it's, whatever they're doing now is temporary, and that when it comes down to
yeah,
it, it's just, happiness is having a combination of physical health, family health, security, and those just kind of basic
mm,
human needs. And when you're young, and you see a shiny object like a Chris Bumstead, or maybe a nice car or a pretty girl, you're just like, oh, that is what I
right,
want. I need that, you know,
Need it,
and
need
it
it.
never gives you the
You gotta have it.
satisfaction that that you think it would. You look at Chris Bumstead. It's like, oh, Mr. Olympia must be the greatest feeling in the world. I bet you'll tell you, no, not having two of them is the greatest. And then when he gets two, he's like, having three of them is the greatest.
Yeah, not three.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
it never ends. It never ends. And I don't think those things will end until you kind of reach your mid 30s and 40s, and your priorities and your direction changes in life from helping yourself to helping others. And so at some point during your life, you'll transition from self-service to serving others in some form or manner. It could be anything. And
Yeah.
you realize not only can you
Mm-hmm.
do that for much longer, you know, you can help others for your
Mm.
entire life. You can really only reach specific accomplishments for short periods of time and get the same sort of reward
Especially physical
off
ones.
of it. At some point, that reward for doing something or accomplishing something will diminish. But if you do that thing that
Yeah.
if you help someone else get their pro card, you help someone else get a job, you help someone else get back on their feet, it's
Mm.
more rewarding than some of the greatest accomplishments you've had personally in your entire life. So, yeah, in a big roundabout way,
I was about to say
yeah,
that was a
just
great
coming back
roundabout.
around. A little valuable life lesson there that really he's just learning. You know, you look at these videos and stuff, and they're just learning
Yeah.
in the learning stage of life, and that'll transition into the
Mm-hmm.
balance stage of life, and then the give back stage of life.
Well, shoot. I mean, I think that's a perfect place to call it for this TikTok today. I appreciate you for giving me some
Yeah,
valuable
my
life
next piece
advice
of
there, man.
advice: wear less necklaces.
Not a chance. I'll have three by the next video.
Cha-ching.
See you later.